WIBTA, for not accepting an apology after being uninvited from an event. Kana Music is playing in London in June at Gunnersbury Park. My girlfriend, Tina, is a fan and asked if I wanted to go. I said yes. She also FaceTimed her sister Yasmin to confirm she was attending. Yasmin is bringing her boyfriend, Jim, and Tina's friend Yvonne is also coming. Yasmin asked Tina to buy tickets. During the call, Tina joked about buying 4 tickets, but not confirming who they were for. She said, OP and I are going. Yvonne is going. I'm not sure who the 4th ticket is for. Over the next few days, Tina repeatedly asked me if I was sure I wanted to go. Each time I confirmed that I did, as I enjoy their music, even if I'm not as big of a fan as Tina or her friends. I've been intrigued by the hype, and events like this are something Tina and I typically do together. Today, however, her tone shifted. Tina said Yasmin had shown her a new set she thought I might not like. I reassured her I did like their music and asked if she was trying to get me to say I didn't want to go. To my surprise, Tina admitted she'd been thinking it over and decided she'd like to make it a girls' night with Yvonne, as they rarely get the chance to do things like this together. I asked if Yasmin and Jim were still going, which Tina confirmed but said, I'm not going with them. I don't think I'll see much of them. I felt rejected. Instead of an open and loving conversation, it felt like she drip-fed me hints to manipulate me into not going. She could have said, I'd like this to be a girls' night. Would you mind inviting a friend? Instead, it felt calculated, and that she didn't want me there. What makes it harder is picturing Tina, Yvonne, Yasmin, and Jim having fun without me. And not only not missing me, but actively having arranged for me not to be there. I actually did what Tina suggested earlier and listened to their latest set to make sure I would like it, only to be hurt more when I was temporarily made to be even more excited for the event, only to then realize I had to find someone who actually wanted to go with me. I also sort of don't want to go on my own, or with anyone else, because I feel like I'll be in my head about whether Tina is having more fun without me, and it'll ruin the experience. Tina has since apologized for the way she handled it and admitted that she should have just been honest and direct, but something still isn't sitting right with me about essentially being excluded from this event. She did say in passing that perhaps I should invite 2 other friends. A couple, interestingly enough, she assumed they would come as an item, even though we seemingly do not, and go with them, but her not wanting to spend this time with me is hurting. We do have other plans lined up, a trip in December, and another event in June 2025, so this isn't a pattern of exclusion. Still, I can't shake the hurt, especially since I'm used to us doing things like this together. WIBTA for not accepting this apology and making a bigger deal out of this. Update, second post, 22nd November 2024. After a bit of reflection time, Tina offered a sincere apology and said in hindsight she'd handled it very poorly. She said I was more important in her life than any gig, and rather than risk causing any more upset, she wasn't going to go. I was grateful for the reassurance. I did think that closer to the time, we could likely pick up some resale tickets cheap if we changed our mind. But for the most part, in my current headspace, I figured going to the event would just be a painful reminder of a time I wasn't wanted, so I would likely rather skip it and try to forget it altogether. The ticket date came and went, and I wondered if Tina had bought tickets. I stopped myself from asking her, though, and decided to trust her word from the night prior that she wasn't going to. We patched things back up and got pretty much back on track. You can probably guess what happens next. A little later, I asked how Yvonne took the conversation around tickets, and she was a little evasive, saying, "We've already had this conversation. She said I handled it really badly, etc." I asked her outright if she'd bought tickets, and she hesitated before confirming she'd bought 3, one for her, one for Yvonne, one for me. Her view is that we have these very hard to come by tickets for the future now should we decide to go, and if I'm not comfortable, she would simply sell them. My view is she had 2 options. 1, risk not getting tickets, but no risk to upsetting me. 2nd, 0 risk on tickets, but small chance of upsetting me. She chose option 2 and risked upsetting me, breaking her promise from the night previous. I feel like she's putting this event ahead of me. She assures me that's not the case, and that buying the ticket and including me was a loving gesture. I'd have every right to be pissed off if the evidence showed her buying 2 tickets, but because it was 3, I should accept this came from a place of love. I asked why. If it was so loving, she didn't tell me at the time. She said because we had been arguing. I asked why make the commitment one day before to not buy tickets only to then do it. She said she reflected and changed her mind because we might all want to go. Update 2. AIO to my girlfriend doing drugs on a night out. 2nd December 2024. Okay, for context, we're both mid-30s. We've been dating around just under a year. From the get-go, I knew she took drugs. I'm not a stranger to them myself. We had a conversation very early on. She confirms that she quite enjoys them on certain nights out. I said that I had enjoyed them more in the past, but still took part very infrequently. In the past couple of months, we've been to things together where we've taken a bit of MDMA together and generally had a good time. I do have a bit of an issue with coke. I know 2 people who've died from it. I've taken it myself and always thought the negatives far outweigh the positives, and I've seen people do some pretty sketchy stuff when they're on it, so I'm pretty averse to it. She's had some horrible controlling partners in the past. I've been cheated on in the past. 1 SO, with multiple APs, pretty much from day one. I found out over a horrible drip-feeding realization that continued even after the relationship ended. Recently, our relationship has been pretty off. We're in different cities at the moment and we argue a lot, mostly just silly communication things, but still we're susceptible to falling out a bit. Nothing has been particularly monumental to be relationship-ending stuff, and for the most part, our fallouts are caused by us both wanting the same thing, the relationship, but communicating our needs poorly. We had a night out together recently, and she took a bit of MDMA. I had a suspicion when she got back from the toilet and asked her, and she confirmed. I said that I was a little disappointed because we had an agreement to tell each other these things before we did them, not after. She apologized. The night was good. I decided not to partake. That night at the hotel, we had a bit of a blowout about drugs in a relationship, trust, etc. She expressed that she should be trusted to do these things, and that she knew that if she took coke on a night out that I would likely be really hurt by it. I said that the trust element was more important than the coke element, but did say I didn't like coke, found it icky thinking of her doing it, and know a lot of people who fucked up relationships by doing it. She has done coke 5 times this year, and assures me she only does so in very small amounts. On the journey back, we'd been texting about our relationship. I communicated that I need to see that she can stick to her word. I said I need to see that she remembers the things that she's told me that she'll do and follow through to them. That trust and keeping our word is the most important thing to me in a relationship. This was off the back of the thing the night before, off my experience with my ex, and off the back of a few other conversations recently. She was very concerned that the relationship wasn't in as great of a place as it has been, and feels we perhaps both have been self-sabotaging it as it's starting to get more serious. We spoke on the phone when I got off the train, and she told me that plans to see a friend for her birthday had come to fruition. She'd previously thought the friend would be too unwell. Our conversation around the relationship was cut short. I still wanted to offer more reassurance. She said that if her friend, notorious coke user, had a bag that she wouldn't partake, I was grateful. The night got off to a start, and she texted to say her friend did have a bag, and that admittedly she was a little tempted, but she wouldn't because she knows how important it is to me. Over the course of the next 2 hours, she repeatedly said that she might do it if it was okay with me. I said, I'm not making that decision for her, that she knew the pros, cons either way. She knew the likelihood of it causing hurt, reminded her of all that she'd said the night previous, and reminded her that just hours ago, she'd told me I was more important. She decided to do it, told me before doing so, told me after doing so, and committed to keeping me updated through the night. Admittedly, I went to a really bad place. It reminded me of my cheating ex, who also used coke, and how I would be drip-fed information or have things change suddenly on nights out. My head went to a place where if she was prepared to prioritize cocaine use over safeguarding our relationship, what else is she prepared to do? Anyway, I couldn't sleep all night until I knew she was home safe. Her night out, bars, ended around 1 a.m., but she went back to the friend's house until 7 a.m. Coke consumption apparently stopped at 3 a.m. I was beside myself with completely irrational thoughts after the trust was broken. Like, has she taken a guy back there? Could they invite guys around later? What if they ordered more and the dealer did something horrible to them? What if one of them suffered a heart attack or health complication? very invasive thoughts, and I'm not proud to say I was really quite needy in terms of texting her, etc. It genuinely was all innocent enough. Just the two of them sat chatting and dancing, and apparently being quite positive about me, our relationship. I sent her a message in the morning explaining how upset I was that she'd acknowledged how important not doing it was to me, then decided to do it anyway, predicting my pain, then doing the thing that would inflict it. I said I wasn't expecting her to give up drugs for life, but just hoping she'd been a little more sensitive to the relationship dynamic at that moment and make a decision for us rather than her. She called me like 15 times when she woke up. I was still asleep, not having got to sleep until circa 7 a.m., texted me saying how sorry she was, and when we finally spoke on the phone, said that she was consumed with regret. She asked me if I could forgive her, and I said I could, but that I couldn't go back to that headspace ever again, and if ever there was a specific promise made by her with a connection to me, the relationship, I won't do X because you're more important, that she broke, I would likely be gone. She texted me saying she had made the decision never to do coke again. I had said to her the night before, not to make this promise, as it will feel hollow, and she said similar before when she's hungover, which never comes to fruition. Don't get my hopes up and say you'll never do it again. I asked that she not commit to that in this state, and instead give it some real consideration before saying she was going to do something, rather than risking breaking another promise. Whereas her text said, I will never touch the stuff again, and you are more important than drugs, the most important. She has since adjusted this to clarify that it is only coke that she is swearing off, not other drugs, MD for instance, because you've never had a problem with that. Anyway, in the days following, she has not necessarily withdrawn her apology, but she thinks that I overreacted a little and seems concerned that I will now an issue with her going on nights out, and has said that she's worried about me finding an opportunity to end things if she breaks the tiniest little promise in the future. She asked what the repercussions would be if, for instance, having sworn off coke now, we decided in a year or so's time, when the trust had been rebuilt, to reintroduce it into our lives. I gave up all drugs when I was in my past relationship of circa 10 years, and I think she's worried I'm going to expect to do the same in this one. My partner asked me to, and I obliged, because I saw that the relationship had potential and narcotics have zero net gain, so it was an easy choice. I've said it feels like coke and going out are more important to her than I am. She said that she doesn't want to relinquish her autonomy and that she feels I'm being controlling and should be paying more attention to how loyal she is as a partner, basically saying, you're acting like I cheated, and telling me with her friend's assistance and proof in terms of screenshots between her and her friend, how she essentially refuses to interact with men on nights out now. Essentially, look, I slipped up, but it isn't an indicator that I'm going to cheat. I can't get my head past that moment in the night where she must have thought, this is going to hurt him, have implications, but I'm going to do it anyway and face the consequences tomorrow. I don't know if my past is making this way worse than it needs to be, or if this broken promise really is a big deal. ATO. Final update, 22nd May 2025. My post history gives a little background on our relationship. Some of the posts have been in here. We had some issues toward the end of last year. They got worse before they got better, and we nearly called it quits at the end of January. But then they did get better. We've had some really lovely times since. A lot of the issues, me feeling like I wasn't a priority in her life, went away, or at least were muted. A lot stayed. We argued, on average every 9 days. The thing I find toughest is that most of the arguments are rooted in insecurity. On the deepest level, she's just scared that I'll leave, and would seemingly rather either control that herself or at least perpetually test me to see if I'm safe. Perhaps it's easier to live with having blown the thing up yourself than facing what it feels like to have someone decide you weren't enough. I just wish I could have made her feel safe enough. I know she couldn't help it. That's the toughest part. She just wanted to be nice, to be good, to feel safe. I really wish it could have worked. For clarity, I left her. The final disagreement was, she sent me a sexy photo and then got very upset when I said I'd reciprocate the following day. Apparently, I should have instantly replied with one, I just wasn't feeling too great, and she sent it on once view, so I could barely get in the mood before I thought best to reply and tell her how sexy she looked. I get it's not great sort of forcing someone into that, but for me, more than anything, it was just another argument that didn't need to happen. The straw that broke the camel's back kind of thing. She later said her actions made her feel disgusted. She begged for another chance. I stayed strong, But then she asked if we could talk hours later, and when I agreed, she said she'd given it some thought and we should break up. I guess that helps her process it. It's been amicable since. Her being level-headed in sorting out logistics makes me miss the version of her that isn't volatile and wonder what could have been. It's tough. I'm not even sure what I want from this post. I guess I wanted to update those who helped when I needed it previously, so there was some conclusion to the story, and also kind of wonder, am I overreacting to the breakup? Or was I overreacting in breaking up with her? I'm sure people will jump on the past stories and the photo thing and say I'm better off without, but I really could see the good in her. It's a shame. Anyway, it helps to talk about it.